Welcome to episode 2 of Drive and Delivers with me, Atlanta Delivers. Welcome to the second podcast episode of my podcast where I talk about all things delivering, such as my stories delivering, your stories delivering, news updates, things I've seen different in the past couple of weeks, and so on. I upload every other Wednesday at 6 p.m. a podcast episode, so make sure you press the subscribe button so we can get closer to 10,000 subscribers, and also hit the like button whilst you're here. If you want to get involved with the podcast, such as I can read out your stories, it can be anonymous of course, and answering questions, it'll be very helpful, then please come and join my Facebook delivery group in the description, as I'm putting questions and everything to do with that on there. Let's first talk about some of the newest news updates that I have seen and found out about. One of the first news updates that I saw actually when I was just on LinkedIn putting up my newest delivery video. I do also upload delivery videos like Come Deliver With Me, so make sure to check those out also if you are new here. Is on LinkedIn I saw Deliveroo had posted to do with an announcement that they are now introducing more shopping. So items that aren't food or grocery shops, I know that's food also, but other items like electronics, flowers, toys, medicine, basically expanding completely, which is awesome for us drivers because that means there's going to be more work and different places to pick up from, and obviously great for everyone ordering as well because you can get more things at a quick speed, which is really cool. Deliveroo has signed a contract with Screwfix to have over 500 products, which a couple of good things, and I have also done this before. It's good because in Worthing it's very easy parking, which I like. I have delivered previously with Gopher, and Gopher currently used to work with Screwfix. So I have actually done this process of going to pick up an order from Screwfix, and it was efficient, just parked in the car park, went in, showed the order number, and I got the order, and it was pretty easy, the same as you'd deliver a normal order. I don't know, maybe they'll introduce a signature though, which would probably be good to make sure it's delivered. The only negative I can think of is if you're on like a push bike or electric bike, it can be heavy and also can be quite big packages, but hopefully Deliveroo will consider that when giving an order to a rider. Consumers are already searching for non-food products. Monthly there are 72,000 searches for pet food or pet care, and 320,000 searches monthly for beauty items. So there is obviously a market for it. Deliveroo made £250,000 in sales on flowers in October. That is crazy. That is a 280% increase year on year. Like, that is a lot of flowers. Like, especially at Valentine's, I deliver a lot of flowers, and obviously people are buying flowers apart from that, and if there's more and more places to buy from it, then more people are going to order flowers, I would say, which is pretty cool. And also between July and October, Deliveroo made £40,000 of sales on AirPods, which is a lot of sales on AirPods. So there is obviously a big market, and Deliveroo have seen this for non-food items. Moving on, I had a phone call the other day about something, and the person asked me, is delivering dangerous? And straight away I was like, yeah, it can be, definitely. So to go into slightly more detail to answer that, being in a car or on a bike definitely can be dangerous. I wouldn't say necessarily, obviously it depends on your area, but for the most part I'd say when I'm actually just out and about delivering, like out the car and stuff, I feel pretty safe in my area. But obviously that can be different in different areas and different times of the day and so on. But more specifically, like in the car, obviously when you are delivering, you have to have extra insurance, hire and reward insurance when delivering. And I know it is annoying to pay that extra money, but being on the road more frequently than like normal drives and stuff, you are more likely to get in a crash. In my time delivering, I've been crashed into once in the car, and also being on the bike, obviously that's dangerous as well. I've been knocked off my bike as well once, so there is more chance. The more you're going to be on the road, the more chance you are going to more likely be in a crash, sadly. One sad article I saw this week was a woman has been sentenced for killing a Deliveroo rider. Not the Deliveroo rider's fault, but sadly I think got knocked off and has been killed, which just shows that you are more likely to get hurt, which sadly comes part of it. But I would say there is a chance that delivering can be dangerous, but in my 4.5 years I've been in 2 accidents, once on the bike, once on the car, for delivering. I will cover in more detail on another episode everything to do with hire and reward insurance. I do also have another video all about it. I think it's one of my top videos, so go check that out if you do want to know more about insurance. Next, I'll be talking about new things I've seen in the past 2 weeks whilst delivering. One of them that actually I did make a whole video on, well, it was like the title, and I'm now not sure, I don't think it's for everyone, but it came up on my app in the inbox. It said I need to verify my identity and I have 2 weeks to do so or I will lose my accounts. This was a different verification to usual, rather than just getting your phone, putting it up to your face and scanning your face. This was a website I had not been taken to before, where I had to upload either like passport or driving license. I did my passport and it was like video it, then also move it around so they could see the holograms. Or did I do my driving license? I can't remember now if I did my passport or driving license, but was it passport? I had to do holograms, I know that, and it was a website I'd not done before to verify my identity. I did think this was for everyone, and by the sounds of it, a lot of people have had it, but also a lot of people have not had it. So I think just be wary, just keep an eye on your app. If you don't deliver too frequently, just keep an eye on your app in case you get something come up, because if you miss that time frame, like if I missed that 2-week time frame, then I will lose my account and I doubt I'll be able to get it back. I think with the new laws coming in January to do with no more substitutes, and like there's new laws in place, I think it's going to really be clamped down on people losing their accounts. Something else I saw in my Facebook delivery group was to do with the insurer Zego, who is I have been with previously. I'm now with Admiral. Zego, you can either pay monthly or you can use as a top-up insurance, which means you can pay hourly, which is great for people that deliver part-time. I definitely recommend that. But a lot of people have said the price has gone up 10%, someone even said 20%, and it seems like the majority of people who use Zego, the price has gone up. But also some people said their price has gone down. So I guess the majority have gone up, but some people has dropped. So if you're one of those, you're very lucky. Just make sure with Zego, using it as a top-up insurance, that your other insurance allows it. Zego won't check that your other insurance allows you to have it as a top-up, and neither will the delivery companies. But if you get stopped by the police and they check your insurance and you're like, yeah, I've got this insurance and this insurance, your normal and top-up insurance, and your normal insurance doesn't allow that top-up insurance for delivering, then you're still illegal and you're going to be in trouble. So just make sure that your insurance allows it, which not a lot of them do. Another thing I have noticed is Deliveroo, now you can pick up from 2 different restaurants at the same time, which has never happened before. It was only a couple of weeks ago that Deliveroo meant that you could now, when you get to a restaurant, it would add on a second order for the same restaurant or grocery pickup, which hasn't happened before, and now you can pick up from 2 different restaurants. This has always been the case with Uber Eats, and it definitely has positives and negatives. Positives, it means that it can work really well, getting a second order, of course, for the same restaurant or a different restaurant, and especially if you've got one, say, pick up the first one, you're going 5 miles away to drop it off, and your second pickup is on the way and it's ready. That works amazingly, and you're getting extra pay for going the same way. A negative of this is that Deliveroo are paying us less, because you will be paid less to do 2 orders at the same time than separate, which I get because you're not necessarily going as far, but also it can be frustrating as a customer seeing that your driver now has a second pickup, which I totally understand. And if I go to the second pickup, whether it's the same or different, and they're like, oh, it's going to be another 10 minutes, and especially if you have hot food in the car already, I will reject that order and just do the one. But not all drivers will do this, so you could potentially have one order ready in the bag and you go to your second pickup and that driver's waiting there another 15 minutes or so, which isn't ideal, especially for the first customer. Okay, moving on now to something a bit more funny. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories I've had whilst delivering. One of them being actually a couple of days ago, which I think is a very common story. And when I've asked for stories from you guys, this is like one of the main things people say, but I don't think it's ever happened to me. So I had a Tesco Wish order on Uber Eats, went to drop off the order, and I was also filming, which I felt a bit weird, obviously cropped out in the video that came out on Sunday. But this guy literally answered just in pants, like not even full on boxers, like pants. Like, I'm still scarred. I'm mentally scarred still to this point. I feel like I've had people maybe answer in like boxes or something before, but not to that extent. Not ideal at all. Another story that I'm going to tell you about is one of the worst deliveries I say I've had, and it did very much upset me at the time and I was shaking. So during COVID, I picked up a double KFC order on Deliveroo. Rather than going, when you get the order, you can just press on Deliveroo, go to Google Maps, and then it comes up with it doesn't type in the address when you come into Google Maps, it just comes up with like the pinpoint, so it doesn't exactly say. So I prefer to type in the address so I know that is definitely the right place. It's just how I am when delivering. So I typed in the address and I turned up to the address and I looked and it said I'm actually like 4.5 miles away, and I was like, oh no, there's 2 places with the same name. So it was like a caravan park. I just pulled out of the caravan park quickly and I called the customer just to make sure, am I at the right place or have I messed up, basically? And even though the delivery map said I was in the wrong place, I was actually in the right place. The customer already was shouting at me down the phone, this woman, and I was like, oh, okay, I am in the right place then, just where you've put your address, the pinpoint is like 4.5 miles away. She wasn't happy, she was shouting at me. So then I go into the caravan park again. I go up to the caravan or towards the caravan, and a man comes out and he's shouting at me, and I'm like, okay, whatever, chill, I'm a chill person. And I'm like, okay, like, because it's in the wrong place, I need the order number, as I've got 2 orders, I can't currently see your order number because it's in the wrong place. And he was shouting at me, leave the delivery on the step, leave it here. And I'm like, no, like, I've got 2 orders, I need the order number, leave the order here. Literally shouting at me like full on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I should have just like left and gone, called the police, whatever, because he was shouting at me so badly. But eventually his wife got the order number and I left the order whilst being shouted at. I should have just left, but yeah, that wasn't an ideal situation. And at that point, like, I was shaking and crying. I had to call Delivery to explain what happened, obviously to just clear that first order so I could drop off the second one. After that second one, even though it was a mess, I went home, of course, because that was not a nice situation at all. I can't remember what else he was saying, but there was a load of other stuff he was saying to me as well. Shouting at me. Yeah, fun times. Let's go for a bit more of a light-hearted story now, as that was quite a dark one and one of the worst deliveries I've ever done. But a light-hearted one is, obviously, as a driver, in the UK especially, we don't get a lot of tips, or I don't at all. I don't think others do. There's like a big debate on my TikTok at the minute to do with, should you tip, should you not tip? It's more people don't tip than tip. I'd say I get 1 in 10 tips. But people get very angry online about it. So if you want to see all that, TikTok, Atlanta Delivers, especially when I put on my earnings and put I get no tips or like £1 tip or something, people get very angry in my comments. But one of the times I went to drop an order, he was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't have any cash, but here's a scratch card, it's a winning one for £10. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, thank you, appreciate it. Got to my car and I was like, maybe it's not real, don't know if it's actually real. And then a couple of deliveries later, when I was picking up from, I think it was Subway, it's now changed to a Greggs in Arundel, the petrol station, I was picking up and I was waiting for the order, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go to the till and just like see. And it was. I got a £10 tip from a scratch card, which was pretty cool. I was like, oh, that's quite cool. I did try and find the video on my TikTok because I did film it, but I can't find it. So I can't put in that footage, sadly. Now, moving on to behind the scenes as a driver, things you may not know as a customer. What I'm starting with, also, you may not know as a driver necessarily, is to do with how orders are distributed. Now, feels like a little secret in some ways, but I was kindly invited up to Nottingham last year or the year before now, and it was in one of the dark kitchens, which, if you don't know what that is, I spoke about in the last podcast episode. But I was invited to there and also had a chat with a couple of people that work for Deliveroo, and they were explaining to me how orders are distributed. So for Deliveroo specifically, they have a system called Frank, and it's a very clever system. It's the system of how the orders go out to drivers. So it's based on several things, such as the dish bit specifically being prepared. The driver itself, they look at how long you take to get from place to place and to specific restaurants, how many rides on the road, how many live orders, vehicle types, like loads of different factors. They learn, the system, Frank, learns every driver, and who basically, that works out who it goes to. So it's a very interesting system. I've put a link in the description about a bit more in detail about how that works, but I was very interested, and I would love to know more about it. But the computer system will know more than any human to do with this. Just Eat and Uber Eats will also have similar systems, but nothing has been put online really about it, and I believe it's not going to be as detailed as the Deliveroo system. The next thing I'm going to talk about is what happens if you do not open the door as a customer. So I'm going to break this down into the separate apps. So for Deliveroo, we'll start, again, I think has the best system of if someone doesn't answer. If you don't answer the door, obviously, like, try a few times. So we have a step-by-step guide that we have to follow, basically. The first one being that you have to message the customer, and then it will come up with a tick when you've done that. Then you need to try and call the customer. That will come up with a tick. Then you send a reminder in the app. It will send to your phone, and I think that's around a 5-minute timer. And then if that's still nothing, there is like a final timer of, I think it's 3 minutes. And then at that point, if still nothing, then you can either leave the order in a safe place, or if there's no safe place, you take it with you and you put where you have left it or not left it. This is the most in detail, I'd say, out of the apps. But just remember, please try and answer the door because this is obviously adds on another 10 minutes or so, at least, of a driver's time to wait around, and we're not paid any extra. We're just messing around and it's stressful. So please, if you order or you're ordering for someone, please just answer the door. Just Eat and Uber Eats. Just Eat, you have to, if it's not changed, I haven't added an order in a long time that I've not been able to deliver, but if they don't answer, you can try and call them, and then you can message the online chat to speak to someone to say, hey, like, they're not answering, I've tried calling, and then they'll more than likely tell you to wait another like 10 minutes and then contact them again, as in Just Eat, and then they'll tell you to probably just leave the order at the door. And Uber Eats, who knows? You can try, and then sometimes your app will come up with like an 8-minute countdown timer. I've never actually not left an Uber Eats order. You can't contact anyone from Uber, so I don't know. Try and contact the customer, message, call them. It'll come up with a timer. I don't know what happens if that timer runs out and you can't contact anyone. So just leave it somewhere, I suppose, and you can take a photo in the app so you can see where it's been left. We're now going to move on talking about some statistics and facts about delivering. So I'm just going to bring my laptop up for this bit because I've got stuff on here that I've researched that I don't want to mess up, and everything that I do talk about, also all the links are in the description, and if you fancy just having a look, have a little read, it is very interesting, a lot of it. So the first bit that I'm going to talk about is there is 500,000 drivers in the UK, and a fifth of these see it as a full-time income, which I don't know if I was surprised or not when I read that fact. Not massively. I feel like a fifth is probably about right, but as soon as I read that, I'm like, okay, a fifth is quite a lot of people, and our pay needs to be upped for delivering, because our pay has not gone up. I don't think since 2019 when I started, I believe I'm on less than when I started, and obviously everything has gone up in price apart from our pay. And yeah, it's a lot of people relying on as a full-time income. And basing this off of 2021 and the population, I've worked out that 0.006% of people in the UK work in the gig economy, which sounds like a small percent, but that is a lot of people. I remember during COVID getting orders for like £10 to £15 per order, and that was really normal. Obviously during that time there was a lot of people ordering, but our pay now can be like £3, which even if you did like 4 orders an hour, which is probably like a maximum you could do, that's only £12 an hour, which is just above minimum wage, and you've got all your expenses. So the pay really needs to be upped. An interesting table I found was about how much people were making in 5 hours in the gig economy. Now this is obviously only a specific group has done this, and I don't know the area, but it was still interesting to look at. And the highest by age group was 18 to 34, earning up to £7.50 an hour. The next highest percentages were also up to £7.50 an hour that they earned, but just the other age groups. Then after that is only one pay group up from that of between £7.50 and £8.44 an hour, for the age group 55 plus being the highest. Like, that is not good pay. As an experiment, why is the pay below minimum wage? I don't know where this was, but that is not good. I feel like I'm quite lucky in my area that I do average as higher than that, but it just shows that not all areas are the same. I'm quite lucky where I am, I suppose, and our pay definitely does need to be upped. Now moving on to some of your questions that you have asked me on YouTube and in my Facebook delivery group. So the first one was, does Amazon Flex pay more, and would you do it, or how was it when you did it? So I have done Amazon Flex once and I know a lot of drivers that do Amazon Flex and have swapped from like delivering like I do for Uber Eats, Deliveroo and Just Eat to do Amazon Flex a lot more. And the one shift I did, I'll tell you the story about my one shift, was went to pick up from Littlehampton. I found that stressful in itself, I suppose because it was my first time. Didn't really fully know what I was doing, even though I went through the training. I was stressed already by that point. And then once you collect the parcels, it tells you where you're going to be. And mine was Shoreham and Portslade, which is Brighton, which everyone says is the worst area to get is Brighton. I didn't know this till after. And I had like 50 plus packages in my car. It wouldn't fit in my Mini now, but what car was I in? I think I was in Ford Focus. 50 plus parcels everywhere. Didn't know how to arrange it. I was just super confused. And then I went off. When I started delivering, like, I didn't know where the parcels were. And I was so stressed. I was on the phone to my dad, like, having a mental breakdown about, I don't know where anything is. And yeah, so if I'm very happy doing delivery, Uber Eats and Just Eat. If I needed it, then I would do it, but I'm quite happy with them, which is why I don't do it. But you can also do the Morrison's grocery deliveries, which is also through Amazon Flex. But I do believe you can make a good income out of doing Amazon Flex if you can get the shifts. If you do Amazon Flex, let me know in the comments and you can tell us a bit more, because that's as much as I know really. Next question I've been asked is, do I think the base pay should be £5 for a delivery? And I'm going to say yes, even though in my videos I do a lot of the £3 deliveries, I do a lot of the grocery deliveries that are low pay, and I do like them, but when you do break it down about how many you can do an hour, you're not necessarily going to earn that great money, and the cost of living is high and everything's getting more expensive. So only being paid £3 for a delivery, even though it can be quick, is now not a lot. And yes, I would absolutely love for the base pay to go up to £5. At some point, I'm sure something has to be done about the pay, but I don't know. People have tried striking in the past. I never did that, never wanted to get involved in that. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully pay goes up at some point. Next question I was asked is, do I work mainly in the mornings and afternoons? So I am not a morning person. only when I have to be. So I'd say I mostly work like lunch shifts and evening shifts. The job is very flexible, is self-employed as a driver, and say when I have my daughter, like today I've dropped her off to school, filming this, I'll pick her up later, take her out for some dinner, then she's going back to her dad's house, and then I can do a bit of delivering in the evening. It can be over where she lives, I can come back to where I live. It's flexible of when you can work, where you want to work, and for me, yeah, it works very good around my daughter. But yeah, apart from when I have her, I'd say I mostly work day shifts, like lunch shifts into the evenings is my normal time to work. Laptop is back. We are talking about a couple of your stories. So yeah, if you do have any stories, please pop them down in the comments or in my Facebook delivery group, because I need your stories. And I do find them interesting, and other people find them interesting as well. So the first story that I have was commented on the last podcast episode, and it says, on my first day of bicycle food delivery, I received a job from Papa John's, but my bag was way too small for pizza, so I delivered the pizza by resting it on my bike handlebars while cycling one-handed. Now, I will let you off because it was your first day or first delivery, but if I ever got an order like that, and I suggest if you ever get an order like that, just get rid of it. Even though it's annoying, get rid of the order. But it reminded me of, I've been watching on Instagram a guy called Biking DC. He's got millions of followers, and he's in, I don't know where he is, he's in America, that's for sure. And he always rides around with like no hands or one hand, and always carries the drinks in his hand, and they're super satisfying videos if you want to go check them out. But yeah, it just reminded me of that. But yeah, don't do that again. Another story that someone commented in my Facebook delivery group is, to be honest, most of the ones I've had that are funny is customers coming to the door in just their pants, or customers coming to the door with just a towel around them. I would prefer them to just say leave it at the door, but hey, it is what it is. After the other day, I agree with you. I wish that guy just said leave it at the door, or just hide around the door. That's all I need. Well, that is all for today's podcast episode of Drive and Deliver. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. I upload every other Wednesday at 6 p.m. a podcast episode, and I upload every Sunday at 10 a.m. a delivery video. So make sure to check that out. That would be very much appreciated. Also give my Instagram a follow at Atlanta Delivers. I was verified. I'm so happy. So yeah, that was like a big surprise. One night I was like, okay, I'm just going to put in, just in case I can get verified. I'd slept like 12 hours the night before, and I was like wide awake at like 2 a.m. and I just put it in, and I thought, let's see, and I was verified, so that's really cool. I update my life daily, so go check that out. And yeah, love you all. Hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you Sunday at 10 a.m. Bye.